is Kayode Bentley, and I'm president and founder of Fortis Productions, and I want to welcome you to the second in a series of discussion panels. We would also like to thank County Cullen Isabella Ansah. She's a very beautiful person. She's can't find, in my opinion, a better person than that, who feels just as passionate about helping you succeed. We also would like to thank Victor Simmons as well, who's the library manager, for setting up this space for us. I would also like to thank all of you for coming out, taking time out of your schedule. We really appreciate it, and again, what we need you to do is spread the word. So spread the word to your young people. Now, my organization is Fortis Productions, and Fortis stands for Teaching Teens to Think. Every year, here's some statistics that I read in the last panel discussion that a lot of you might know or may not know, but we're in a serious situation now. There are approximately 1.2 million students who drop out of school every year, and that dropout rate is climbing in the United States. This amounts to an average of 7,000 students per day. And I don't need to go into any further statistics, but I will anyway, just so that you'll know and to refresh your memory. 1/4 of high school freshmen failed to graduate from high school on time. My panelists and my friends back, we were just having a discussion talking about that number is increasing. So my question is, what are these young people going to do? The digital divide is just totally forgetting them. And these are the next leaders of tomorrow. So with these statistics, you also have to add in almost 2,000 high schools across the United States graduate less than 60% of their students. These schools, also known as dropout factories, account for over half of the students who leave school every year. Just throwing out the statistics, as some of you may know. Now that we know some of the statistics, let me go into some of the causes. What are the reasons why these students are dropping out? They're dropping out, or basically are being pushed out, because research shows that these students are not interested in school. They are pushed out by aggressive punishments, such as suspensions or zero-tolerance policies, or repeated contact with school resource officers, which is also the entry point of the school-to-prison pipeline. How many of you heard what I just said? How many of you agree with what I just said?
Yes.
So, another reason that these students are dropping out is because of the lack of parental engagement, whereas parents fail to work with teachers and schools in educating their child. How many of you heard that? All right, so you have a child that's being punished in school, and then after they're being punished in school, they go to school, or after they're being punished in school, they come home and they don't have the support that they need from their parents. These are what students are facing, and it's not their fault. So they're already disengaged in school, but now they don't even have a support system to encourage them to pursue their education, to establish a career, and start a business. What's another reason? Work-family economic needs, whereas the students' after-school employment obligations affect their performance in school. So now you have a student whose only responsibility is to go to school and get their education, but when they come home, they have to provide for their family, or their parents, or their mothers. So not only do they have to go to school, they have to find work. So how are you going to go to school, get your education, and then after school you have to go to work, and then you end up coming back home at 9 o'clock. You got to get up the next day to finish school. Where's time for homework? Where's time for studies? Where's time to even vision what your future is going to be? Where's there time for that? Well, that's what these students are facing every day in our communities. The disconnect between school academics and work, whereas students don't see how school-related work benefits them in real time and in their future, is another statistic. And finally, low student engagement, whereas students only attend school for recreational, social, or out of obligation to fend off truancy officers. So these are the reasons why students are even in school in the first place. They're not there to get their education. They're there for a social network. They're there to either learn or play basketball or some type of sports, but they're not there to focus and invest in their future. Now, with these statistics, we can sit and talk about the statistics and everything bad all day. But what are we doing about it? Are we just talking about it, or are we taking action steps to correct the problem? Well, that's where I come in. I'm not just standing up here to talk with you all. I'm not just standing up here to throw statistics out at you how dire the situation is. I'm standing up here to let you know I'm doing something about it. And the people in my network that I'm going to introduce you all here today are doing something about it. So now we're going to make every possible chance, or let me put it this way, we're going to take away any and every possible excuse for students not to succeed. So if the school system is against them, if their home life or home situation is against them, they got somebody who's for them. 4Ts is one organization that's doing just that. Our solution is specifically to address this disconnect between school and academic work. We are here to inspire students and youth to complete their education, establish a career, and start a business. This event today, as a matter of fact, is an example of that. This professional discussion panel is one example of how we're going to change the downward path of today's students and youth are currently on. For more details on this, and my panelists will share this with you also, if you have pen and paper, write this down. We are a legitimate organization, nonprofit organization. Go to 4ts.org. If you are serious, that's all you need to know. That's the number 4, that's the letter T, that's the letter S, .org, O-R-G. On there, you'll have these discussions that are being recorded. You'll have professional zone discussions with professional mentors who are discussing these issues. Direct your youth to that site, and they will get the information, motivation, and encouragement that they need. That's all I'm telling you. The rest is on you, in addition to what we're going to provide you here today. Now, I gave you all my whole speech. So now let me get into, or let me allow you to hear other people who feel the same way I do. Joining us here today are professionals and entrepreneurs who are successful products of the inner city communities. They are the very same communities that these dropout factories exist, and they are here to share with us their experience along with the tools and strategies they use to succeed in spite of the negative statistics and challenges and obstacles placed in their way, all those statistics that I threw at you earlier. This information is located, as are located from our panelists back there. If you have any questions after the discussion, please ask them. They have information they would love to share with you, business cards, contact information as well. So now let me start off by introducing our first panel, and his name is Chike Ukaegbu. Chike Ukaegbu is a graduate of City College of New York with a degree in biomedical engineering, a math professor at City College, and co-founder and president of Relife, whose mission is to empower youth through education and entrepreneurship. The next professional that I'm inviting to the stage here, his name is Kyle Dixon. Now, we should have did the applause and everything. Sorry, Kyle Dixon is an educator at City College as well, New York. He's an activist with various grassroots collectives using creative arts to encourage social, political activism in urban environments globally. And he's the co-founder of an organization called Precise Minds, Inc. And the mission of his organization is to produce creative, entertaining content that also has substance and culture, where the community is involved, reaching out to after-school programs teaching youth media literacy. That's Kyle Dixon. This next panel that we have, I had the pleasure of meeting him just a few weeks ago, and I have to say, welcome addition. But let me just go right into it. And his name is Joseph Matthews. Let's give Joseph Matthews an applause, please. Joseph is a high school dropout turned Ivy League graduate student and a motivational speaker. He is currently pursuing his doctorate at Columbia University in arts education. He travels and presents at conferences for educators and youth, and has a passion to help youth and young adults change their lives and strive for a better future. He used to teach high school for a number of years. Now he gives tips to educators on how to effectively work with disengaged students and disadvantaged youth through spoken word, workshops, and seminars. This is your panel of professionals right here, ladies and gentlemen. Please, let's give them another round of applause. Now, before I continue, I want to make sure that you're not surprised. We have another panelist, which is why there's an extra seat right here. His name is Jason Sidney, and he'll be joining us in a few minutes, but he's running late. Now, the purpose of this panel discussion, as I said before, is not to preach to you, is not to talk at you. It's basically for our panelists to share information with you that we would like for you to share with the youth in your community. You'll get a lot of information yourselves, as a matter of fact, and you might get some inspiration and motivation yourself. They might share some stuff with you, because I know they share stuff with me that helps me. So what we're going to do is we're now going to lead into the question portion of the discussion. And we also have a special or a different format that we're going to use this time. And we were able to, online, ask students what questions they may have for these panelists. So that way it's not just us giving our opinion about what we think is important. These are actual students who have questions about their education and their career. So you're going to hear me ask those questions as well. So what I'm going to do in changing that up, gentlemen, I'm going to change it up a bit on you. For the sake of time, I'm going to do my best, and you'll bear with me, to gauge these questions so that they are as effective as possible. So now, let me stop talking, because I know you're probably tired of hearing my voice at this point. So let's get right to our professional panel. I'll start from my left to my right, and since you were the last being introduced, I'm going to start with you with the first in these questions. Joseph, what specific challenges or obstacles did you experience in high school, and how did you overcome them? For students who are in high school right now, like we just mentioned, the dropout rate, and that rate is continually to increase. So these students are dealing with not only the school system against them, they're not only dealing with problems in the home, and they're not only dealing with have to find employment to cover their rent and their expenses. For these students who are dealing with that challenge, who are pretty much interested in school, but those things are bothering them and is affecting their education, what were some of the things that you experienced? And then probably give them, some advice on how they can overcome so they can be a success. So please.
Right. First, I want to say thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
And thank you all for coming out and sharing with us. Yeah, I think one of the issues that I dealt with was when I was in high school, people always asked me, well, why did you drop out? It's kind of like if you ever looked at like a talk show, right? And the person was being, like the woman was being abused by the boyfriend, and what do people always say to the woman when she's being abused? That you should what? That you should leave, right? Because you shouldn't be abused, right? So I felt like I was being intellectually and culturally abused. And why would I stay in an abusive relationship that I had with school? And I know oftentimes you have students who feel the same way. They feel like they're being intellectually and culturally abused. And one of the things that happened, I think, for me, is once I dropped out of school and I got in trouble, I was able to reflect on exactly the things that I needed to do, which was, the one, forgive other people that had hurt me. Because it's hard to move forward when you're mad at the world. But most importantly, the second thing that I did was I learned how to forgive myself. Because oftentimes young people are they're introduced to opportunities. They're introduced to opportunities to make change and transformation, but they harbor so much anger and pain because it's hard to move forward out of that comfort zone. You can actually be comfort in discomfort. You can be comfortable in pain. And once I learned how to forgive myself and move on, instead of always you take a step forward and then you replay the pain or something that someone did to you and you take a step back. And then you move forward and you get mad about what happened to you in 4th or 5th grade. And so I had to let all of that go, and I had to let myself go. And so that was one of the things that happened to me. And just accepting that challenge. One of my coaches said to me, he said, Joseph, you are a great athlete, you're a great competitor. And he said, you will fight anyone on the streets if they punched you. He said, but why is it that you won't fight school back? You won't fight life back. When those things are punching you in your face, you won't fight back. But you'll fight anybody on the street. You'll accept any challenge on the street, but you won't accept the challenge of being successful in life back. And he challenged me, and he knew how to channel that competitive spirit, that same competitive spirit that kids around the country have. They have that same competitive spirit. They will not let anybody take anything from them except their dreams. they'll let them take that, which is the matter of a few words. But try to take the coat, shoes, try to take that from them, it's a wrap. They'll protect that. And so once I learned how to protect myself and my dreams, just like I would anything else on my body, you couldn't stop me then. You couldn't stop me. Because I learned how to be a competitor in the classroom and in life, just like I learned how to be a competitor on the football field or the wrestling mat or the track.
Okay. That covers the high school challenge. Right there. For the sake of questions, because I want to make sure I get the youth questions out. Thank you, Joe. So let me make sure I get the generals out, and then I get right to the youth questions. The challenges I found very interesting. I guess we can go to. I'll go to you on this, Kyle.
Okay.
What challenges did you have in college, and how did you overcome them?
For the most part, a lot of my challenges were really more academic than social. I really felt when I got to college that, like, socially, I was where I was supposed to be. I went to a HBCU, Historically Black College University, down in Nashville, Tennessee, Fisk University. And it was just a source of just richness and culture and heritage, dealing with the alumni, which is W.B. Du Bois, is one of the alumni, Nikki Giovanni, Marion Barry, John Hope Franklin, famous historian. So I had all this history and culture around me, but I know that academically, some of the classes I was taking were somewhat difficult. So luckily, I had peers and professors around me that showed care, a lot of care. HBCUs are known to really care and nurture their students. So fortunately, I had those instructors, and I had my classmates who cared enough about saying, "Hey, man, let's get this study group together. Let's see if we can knock this out." Or professor, "Hey, you need to come to my study session, on an off day, or you need to come to my office and see me. We need to talk about this because you're not. It's midterm, and your grades are not cutting it." So really, academically, I was running into some issues, but for the most part, I had that support system, which I really, really appreciate, and I still appreciate even now.
Thank you very much, Kyle.
Yeah.
Speaking of support systems, Chike, did you have any support systems? And if you did, what type of support systems were they? Were they mentors? What was describe to us if you had a support system, and what type of support system did you have that helped you while you were in college?
Okay. I went to City College of New York, and I'm Nigerian. I came to the U.S. at 19 for college. Having the background that I did, we all believe in that it takes a community to raise a child. And it was difficult to see it at the time because I was the only child here. Family was back home or in England. But the funny thing was that support system from family was the most crucial for me. So I had family, I had friends, I had teachers who were interested, I had counselors, I had mentors, who definitely played instrumental parts in ensuring that I succeeded. I made sure that the friends that I had were people who had the same or similar goals like I did. So we all knew that in order to keep a scholarship, you needed to keep your GPA up. So we came together, we studied together, we made sure we all succeeded, together. And I think that's extremely crucial because in college, high school and college, we tend to have very strong peer pressure, with the parties, with the freedom of not having anyone to tell you what to do. It could easily, distract you from what you're there for. But as long as you have people around who can help you coordinate, your plans, your schedule, people that understand the importance of studying from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. because you needed to make 100 at a test. And the reason why we had to do that was because there was one thing my father told me, is that the most important thing with your college experience is your GPA, period. No one is going to ask you if you got an A in history or D in math. All they look for is a GPA. You know, now some schools, for graduate schools, will look at your progression from freshman to your college graduation. But honestly, during graduation or when people are offering you jobs, is what was your GPA? So that was extremely important. Now, for my emotional, spiritual, and social balance, family was extremely important. I always had to call. My parents are educators and hold your education very highly, so you could not falter at all, you know, in that. Then I had mentors. Had people whom I could call up and say, hey, listen, this is, for instance, I've had the most overwhelming last 2 weeks, and I know that I have people that I can call and say, hey, you know, I just need a word. I need some encouragement. And sometimes you just need someone to listen, not even say anything, you know. Those were very helpful. Then some professors were also very helpful. Some weren't. Some did not expect you to succeed. Being black and African, some were extremely helpful. You know, the office hours were extremely important. Took advantage of those. The extra review sessions, I took advantage of those as well. And when a professor or a teacher feels like you're putting in your best, even if that might not be reflected in your grades, then they are biased towards making sure you succeed. Whether you like it or not, it always works, you know. You make a professor believe that you work hard, you do your homework, you do your tests, and then you had that one bad day, that one test grade that wasn't great. The likelihood that they would drop it just to make sure your grades stay where they're supposed to be is higher than one, when they don't know who you are, or two, they feel like you're not interested. You're never in class, you don't do homework, you come into class late. When you're there, you laugh or crack jokes. So understanding your support system is extremely crucial to succeed in college and in life. You know, there's a famous saying, no man is a forest, or no tree actually is a forest. You need other trees, and you need people who have been ahead, who have been through where you've been through, people who are traveling the same path with you, to make sure that that unity is there, to support is there.
Thank you, Chike. Now, we're assuming at this point that these students have pretty much took the advice in the perfect world about the struggles in high school, where they value now their dreams, just like they would value their clothing or their shoes. We're putting into consideration in college, where these students are realizing how important education is. So if they have challenges with any professors, or whatever the case may be, you know, they're putting in those hours or that dedication to doing their studies. We're putting into consideration that when they run across that challenge in college, where they have that one day where they're dropping, that they have a support system now where they can go to and get that inspiration and that motivation. Okay, so now we're assuming that these students have done that. So now they're finished, they're out of college, now they're on that career path to starting their own business. So Jason, is my next question to you, is what challenges and obstacles did you face with your experience in the corporate industry, and how did you survive, and please share that with us, my brother.
All right, first of all, my apologies for being late. I had to turn over for a client, actual configuration for a client that's due by tomorrow, so I had to make sure that was done. And I work in the financial market, so I have to wait till 4 o'clock. Now, in terms of challenges of starting your own business, there are definitely a few. Number one is the first challenge of, you know, setting up a business and making sure it thrives and survives. A lot of new businesses that come in, that get created, actually die within like kind of the first 5 years. So you want to make sure you have a proper business plan. You want to make sure that, you know, you study the market that, or your industry that the business is going to be in, to make sure you know who your clientele is, know who your competition is, and also know what skills you can deliver. And also you have to have a plan of when you're going to grow. So a little background, the business I'm in is in consulting. I was at a full-time job, and January this year I got let go from a big firm. So I had to start a consulting company to get a new job approximately 3.5 months later. So in consulting sense, it's a little easier because I've done the work for a while, so it was easy just to create my own company and I know that clients are going to be within the same industry that I've always worked in.
Let me just
yeah.
clarify that question real quick. Before you started your business and you graduated high school and you went into the career field, what challenges did you face when you went into your career? What did you...
Okay, so from a career standpoint or planning your career, let's say, there are a few things you want to check. It all goes back to planning what industry you're going to be in, right? I'll give you an example. Once upon a time, like the medical field was all the rage, all the crave. Everyone wanted to be, you know, a doctor, a nurse, or somewhere in the medical field. If you look now, there are a lot of hospitals that are in jeopardy. They're trying to close hospital. A lot of nurses are scrambling. My mother was actually a nurse, and she used to do a lot of side jobs. They're taking away that opportunity. So you have to kind of look and see which career paths are going to be growing for the next few years. Of course, anything with computers works out really well. Programming, if you align yourself with the financial markets and computers. Finance is big because everyone wants to make money, right? So money's big. A lot of corporations want to invest. A lot of people want to invest the money that they have, and you have a lot of 401ks because they used to have pensions. Now that's getting all converted to 401ks. So money management is big. Obviously, you have entertainment, but entertainment is such a kind of cutthroat, and you know you have a lot of people going into entertainment, but who's going to come out and survive and be up top? So those are definitely the challenges. You have to plan the career paths that you want to be in. Unfortunately, there's some careers like humanities or even like the social sciences is good because people are always going to have problems. But you look at what kind of money, what kind of return that's going to give you, so that you can actually live and sustain yourself.
Is that how you made it in the career industry? Is that what those are the tactics and tools that you use to succeed in your career?
Well, what I did for my career is I ended up challenging myself because I started off in engineering. And if you want to hear about perseverance, it actually took me 3 colleges to finish my degree. Polytechnic is where I started off first, Polytechnic University. Then I went to City College for like a year to finish in engineering. That didn't work. So finally I ended up at John Jay for Computer Information Systems. But in my mind, I knew I had to get the degree. It was a must. So perseverance is definitely important. Mapping your strengths and weaknesses, knowing what you need to do to achieve your goal is important. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid that if you go into something that it's not quite working out. Like for me, it was engineering. Electrical engineering just didn't work for me. I was working, going to school, and it's something you have to devote a lot of hours to studying for the engineering field. So I ended up switching to computer information systems, and that worked out great. So you have to definitely know what you want to do, but don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, and you'll find that perseverance is going to make you into a stronger character and person.
You started off, Jason, pretty good with starting your own company. So this question is now posed to you, Kyle.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chike. Excuse me. Chike, you have an organization called Relife. One of the questions from the students who asked online, these are questions that students have asked, not me, nothing that we formed up, but one of the students asked, to become an entrepreneur, do you have to go to school for it, or is it possible to learn on the job? And I'm posing this question to basically all of you.
Okay, so honestly, I've encountered that question a few times, and actually said there's no right or wrong answer, because I could say, well, it's important that you go to school, and then people will name all the school dropouts who have actually become billionaires, and will pay all the salaries here and more. And then I tell you, well, you don't need an education, and then there are several businesses that collapse because of lack of knowledge or doing your homework. So that's a tricky question. I usually say, well, in order for you to start a business, one, it takes a lot of guts. So you need a lot of passion. Like passion is extremely important. Now, if you have the right amount of passion, it will drive you to know exactly what you want to know for your business. Which means if you require an education to be successful in that business, then get an education. So for instance, if you want to build a medical device, you need to know a good amount of biomedical engineering and design to be successful. Now, without having that background, you might know how to draw stuff and envision stuff, but when it comes to the technicalities of it, then it means you need to get someone who is educated in that field to do that, if you're not. So, with starting a business, education is key. Knowledge is key. Applied knowledge is key. But it also means that wherever you're lacking or wherever you're lacking in, make sure you can find the right person to fill it up, right? So if you are starting a business that you have no idea at all anything about, you know nothing about, and you want to go it alone, I would almost guarantee that it would fail, right? So having the right amount of education and guts or willpower, I believe, will yield a successful venture, as opposed to, well, you must go to school, or no, do it on the job. So,
Thank you, Chike.
I hope I answered.
Kyle, to become an entrepreneur, you own your business,
Yes.
Precise Minds. Do you have to go to school for it, or is it possible to learn on the job?
Well, I definitely agree with Brother Chike here. You can definitely learn things without having the formal education of learning your craft, but also you can go and take classes on certain things. And especially with having a media company, me and my film partner, actually my film partner, who initially created the plan, he spent 2 years out in LA slaving on film sets, literally sometimes eating donuts for payment, to learn the craft of filmmaking, the lighting, the sound, the directing, casting, all those different aspects that you deal with film. He spent about 2 years out there. He came back to Nashville, where one of our other friends was a producer, and they did a collaborative album dealing with like spoken word. So, and they started like a small music production company, and that was an LLC. And then from that, we went back to one of our ideas we had in school and said, hey, let's do film. So I was like, I'm with it, you know? So when we started the company, I had a little bit of experience doing videography here and there, and because I had an interest, because I grew up on Spike Lee films and music videos and just watching like countless amounts of TV shows. But I didn't have that formal experience. So that's how I was lacking, but my film partner had it. So what he learned, he taught me. And he said, look, you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to read and study up. But like Chike said, the passion was already there, so that's what I went straight towards. I went straight towards books. I love to read. So I would spend countless amount of hours in a library and Borders, because sometimes I didn't have enough money to buy the books, let me just be honest. And I would just sit in Borders and read the whole book, or have the book and take notes. And then we would go back and do certain tasks, certain jobs dealing with the film company that we own, and that's would be my practice. And I thought about, and both of us actually thought about going to film school, but Spike Lee being one of our heroes, he said that honestly, I went to film school to get the equipment. He said, you don't learn films by studying, you learn films by trying to do films. So that's what I did. I studied, practice, study, practice, study, practice. And I still do it to this day, because film is one of those things that you really never feel you conquer, because it's always changing. You're always learning something new. But that was my introduction in my film company, being sharp, being able to study up on my own because that passion was there, but also getting that practical experience too, kind of buffer.
Thank you very much, Kyle. My man Joe, question to you. I understand you're an entrepreneur. You're out there speaking engagements, providing workshops. Question, to be an entrepreneur, do you have to go to school for it, or is it possible to learn on the job?
I mean, I agree with these two brothers right here. It's about the knowledge, but I want to take you back to my college days on how, what really taught me. Like, so when I graduated high school, right, and went to college, I graduated out of 166 people in my high school. I graduated 166th. I mean, I was the last person to graduate in my class. They have rankings. There was 165 people who had higher grades than I had. I was the last person to graduate. So when I went to college, the one thing that I knew that I had, that I was going to have to fall back on, is I had some street smarts. I had hustled. Hustling had gotten me in trouble, right? And I knew that I was going to have to take those same street smarts and that same spirit of hustle to get me out of trouble, the legal hustle, when I was in college. And so I took that same spirit of hustle into college, and I didn't have money. I didn't have that support system. I didn't have money, but I knew how to cut hair. I knew how to make food and feed dudes that were hungry in the dorms. So I was making money on the side, and I knew how to talk to girls when I needed help with my homework, because they knew how to do their work. And so I knew it's called survival skills, right? And that's what you have to do. I think oftentimes what happens is that people, and those are some things that you're not going to learn in school. But if you can take those two worlds and put those two worlds together, the streets and the books, and learn how to use that, because many kids that we're talking about, they have the street element. They understand what's going on in the streets. And imagine if they took that same education. And because that's what LeBron James's teammates did. They all went to high school together, right? And then they took that same street smart, and they bypassed and cut the middleman out when it came to marketing. And they said, we're going to market our own homeboy. And so, it's changing the game. And so I learned how to really, as an entrepreneur. So I was learning that in college. And I took that same spirit of hustle and of tenacity, and I put it with my education. And so once I graduated, and I became a teacher, I now know how to use that same street hustle. Oh, don't get it twisted. I still got it in me, but now I'm using it as I'm an educator, and there's nothing wrong with still staying connected. And here's the thing, is that the one thing that I learned is that, and this is what pushes you also, is connecting to that which drives you. Because here it is, I would say I love my mom and I love my hood, right? But when you're getting in trouble and you're taking yourself away from the hood, you can't give back to the hood that you say that you love so much. And so I would tell any young person out there, man, if you say you love your family that much, you say you love your hood that much, do it for them also. Do it so you can give back. Get the education so you can give back, because your education is not to leave the hood, it's to get it so you can give back to the hood and lift it up. And so that's one of the things that I learned. And as an entrepreneur, I still try to do that. But I think it's very important that we understand how to use the very things that hurt us and the very things that we're very passionate about and very familiar with. Because you're not going to always necessarily be like so many kids say they want to be LeBron James, or they want to play professional football. But if you only grow to be 5'2", it's probably not going to happen. But if you really, and here's the thing, and I want to take time to share this to educators, parents. When your kid says, I want to be a professional football player or a professional basketball player, don't knock the dream. Don't start talking to them, well, do you know the odds? Do you know the odds? Instead, say to them, well, you know what? If you want to be a professional football player, a basketball player, or whatever, learn about it. Learn all you can about it. Because see, what you do is when you don't knock it, you open this opportunity up for them to learn. Because to be a professional basketball player, you got to learn how to manage your anger. You got to learn how to manage time. You got to learn how to work as a teammate. You got to learn how to work hard. You got to learn how to listen to the coach. All of those are transferable skills. So if you can listen to the coach, then you learn how to listen to the teacher. If you can be on time to practice, you can be on time to school and to the job. If you learn how to manage your anger on the basketball field, then you can manage your anger in the neighborhood or in the classroom when somebody says something to you, so you don't get kicked out of school. And so those are all transferable skills, and we miss the opportunity to really reach our kids when we tell them, well, do you know the odds? Instead of that, teach them, you know what, if you want to get there, here are some steps that you can take to get there. And what will happen is when they only grow to be 5'2", they'll say, you know what, I probably can't be LeBron James, but during my pursuit of basketball, there was this thing called science. And in science, we was learning about knees. And I was like, wow, when he messed up his knee, we started doing physical therapy. And so all of a sudden, all of those skills that he has developed, he can now transfer those into physical therapy. He can transfer those into all of these different careers that they can actually go to college for and still be a part of their passion too, instead of trying to disconnect their passion from education. Instead of using the passion and education at the same time. That's for football. You can be I have kids all the time sitting back in the back of class talking about sports. I'm like, do you know that you can go to college and major in broadcast journalism and communication?
Oh my God.
And you can get paid to watch and talk about sports. Instead of back here getting an F talking about it, you can literally get paid, and your job is to interview and hang out with these basketball and these football players. You get fired if you don't do that. You don't have to leave your culture or your passion behind. That's actually going to be that's going to be the caveat that's going to push you through in the tough times. And I would rather you go into something that you are more familiar with than to go into something that society has told you to go into. Like, no, you go into something that you know all about, that you're passionate about, and you can make a living with it. You can drive the same kind of cars that they drive. You can live in the same kind of houses, date the same type of girls that they date. And you can do it legally without injury. And when they get hurt and retire, you can still keep getting paid.
Joe, thank you very much. All right, guys, I'm gonna try with the time frame that we have. I know your schedules are tight, so if you can limit your answers to like 1 minute, if you can, just move, because there's a lot of questions here, guys. I got 13 questions from young people that they want answers to. So, and I'm gonna try and hit all of y'all at the same time. If I skip you, you know I'm doing it for the sake of time. You understand? Jason, in all fairness, the question was asked to everybody. I'm asked to pose the same question to you. Please keep in mind the time frame. To become an entrepreneur, do you have to go to school, or is it possible to learn on the job?
I would say it depends on the field that you're studying, but I just want to bring out one big important fact. If everyone in this room had $1 million in their bank account right now, what would you do with it, right? Buy clothes, cars, things like that. Having money doesn't make you intelligent, but being intelligent, you can make money. You can get to that 7-figure value that you want. So you have to use what you have to understand the market you want to go into. Know that if you have to go to school, that's what you want to do. But be prepared for one thing. When you have a business and you're going to go meet a client, you're going to get into conversations. Those conversations are going to be, oh, well, I went to this such and such college. I did this, I did that. If you did not go to college and get a degree, you have to be prepared to answer that question. And you have to be prepared for your client to look at you a certain way. You know, well, oh, this person didn't do it. So you have to be resourceful when dealing with clients. Having a degree, as stated by society, give you the credentials that they said that you need. Now, you can be successful without those credentials, but you have to be prepared to deal with people that will have that against you. That's the one thing I want to say with that. A lot of people have actually created a business and then they went back to school just to make sure that they have those credentials, whether it be, you know, an actual 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, or, you know, focused on some sort of, emphasis in a field. Like in computer technology, you can get certifications, all those type of things. So just keep those things in mind. I'll cut it there.
Thank you, Jay. All right, I'm going to try and run through these questions real quick. I'm going to run down the line. If I skip you understand why, but I'm hoping that depending on the answer, we can do this. The youth have another question. The other question they want to ask is an entrepreneur the same as a manager or MBA? And with this question, I'll go to Chike.
Is an entrepreneur the same as a manager or
Or an MBA major or an MBA major?
MBA? No, not necessarily, no. Actually, my background is in engineering, biomedical engineering. Has nothing whatsoever to do with business. But I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. Actually, the first business I started was a nonprofit that has nothing whatsoever to do with engineering. So it's not. It's just that every entrepreneur actually is a manager, but you don't need to have an MBA for that. So you have to know how to manage your finances, the people you employ, and your business in order for it to grow and succeed. So.
Thank you, Chike. I leave that question open to anyone who might want to answer. Instead of picking anyone want to answer, have a different take on it, or is it go on, I can move?
Yeah. Well, I just want to add one thing. I just want to say that as an entrepreneur, you're managing your time, you're managing your business, you play different hats. You wear different hats, I should say. You do accounting, you do money management, accounting. You do time management. You do HR if you're paying yourself. Figure out your own. You wear a lot of different hats. I just want to make sure that that's understood.
Okay, great. Now let me make this clear. Even though this panel is full of men, I tried my best to get some women, to get some diversity in here. I know. So Carrie Ann Bent, I didn't get a chance to introduce her. She's an attorney for, who's she attorney for again, Jay? A Fortune 500 company. Fortune 500.
No, Barclays.
Barclays.
Yes.
She's an attorney for Barclays, and she was kind enough. She wants to send you her apologies for not being here. She had a deliverable. Jason made it. She couldn't make it, so she gave answers in her place. So I'm going to read her answers for you, if that's okay. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from Carrie Ann Bent, and the question that the youth asked was, should I travel abroad or to other places in the United States to learn more about my career, like Paris, South Korea, or Milan for fashion, or California and Massachusetts for technology? Carrie Ann's answer was, traveling is important. It helps to give you perspective, and observing a different way of life spurs new ideas that will change the way you approach issues and problems. After having traveled, she realized that New York is one of the best cities for career growth, and many, if not all, industries have a touch point here, which is New York. That said, relocating to a new place for work should be a well thought out plan. Be sure you have the proper resources, i.e. a job, place to live, source of income, to make and sustain your transition for 6 months to a year. That's her answer to that question. I'm going to pose that question. I'm going to leave that question open to any one of the panelists here. Should a youth travel abroad to other places in the United States to learn more about their career, basically?
All right, I'll start with it. Yes, please, travel. I mean, just in New York alone, and I tell because I teach as well. I teach up at City College as well. But I've traveled. That was part of a lot of important information and education in my youth. Just traveling to different parts. I have families all across the United States, so my family would do road trips and things like that. But that was one of the greatest experiences I got to see. I got to see how different people lived in different neighborhoods, different styles, different culture. And that's another good thing about college too. To kind of go back a little bit on college. You meet people from everywhere. You find out how you do things similar. You see how certain styles are similar, but see how things are different, language and whatnot. But traveling is a great education. I haven't went abroad yet, but that's my next goal, and I'm probably going to do it by the end of the year.
Okay, Joe, you looking at me, man. You want to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, man, I was blessed to have an opportunity to play professional football in Europe. I played in Finland, and it was an amazing experience, and I'm over there playing football, living my dream, and I had like white homeboys with blonde hair. I was in Finland, and they were up there rapping, and it's like, wow. For the first time, like, I didn't realize that, like, hip hop, this thing that we created in New York City, these little black kids in New York City created this thing that kids around the world are using, and they love, and they sell things, and kids in the hood, they set the tone, because hip-hop sets the tone for this country sets the tone for the world. So that means that these little kids living in the neighborhoods are the most powerful people in the world, and everybody knows it except for them. You don't know how powerful you are, and when you go abroad, you realize how powerful you are. So you want to realize your true power, go abroad and watch them celebrate you, and you will have a totally different worldview.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Real quick, what type of personality, I'm going to leave this question open to the panel, what type of personality do you need to have to be an entrepreneur or a business leader? Who wants to answer that question? Wow. Wow.
I'll jump in.
Wow.
I just got through speaking, so I don't want to. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you, but I'm gonna.
Well, personality is one thing, but it's more a desire. You have to want to be successful. You know, you have to be driven. You have to focus in on that goal. You have to have perseverance. You have to be able to face your challenges. You know, basically, you know, have that courage that if something goes wrong, that you can rise above that. And you just have to have that belief within yourself that you will be successful. You know, it's one of those things that you look in the mirror and you say, I will get this done, and it has to be that way.
Thank you. Joe, you went real quick. You want to add to that? You covered it? It's good?
I mean, he's covered.
Great. All right. Now, the next question for our youth is, what help do you get to become who you are today? I'm going to answer this question for Carrie Ann. This was her answer to it. She said, a lot of people help me, but you also have to help yourself. I cannot stress the importance of reading. Read something every day. We're in the New York Public Library. Good example for that. Whether it's a newspaper, a book for leisure, or a trade journal, to add to your professional development, she exclamates, read it. Bold letters. Reading can bring you insight and develop your problem-solving skills that will keep your mind sharp and open you to new experiences. That's Carrie Ann's answer. I leave that question open to any of the panelists. One of the panelists who might want to answer. What help do you need to become who you are today? Anyone? All right, moving on. Got to move on because I know the time. Next question. Carrie Ann has an answer to this as well. What are your future plans now that you have reached your goal? So the premise to that question is, have y'all reached your goal? Whoever wants to answer that. And what are your future plans now that you have reached it, which is your 5-year plan projection ahead? Carrie Ann's answer is, her plan is in general, is to become even better than she is now. She was always told the following saying, good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. The ball always keeps moving, and once one goal is achieved, most people naturally begin to seek out the next opportunity and challenge. That's her answer. Any of you have an answer in regards to, now that you reached your goal, what are your future plans now that you reach your goal? Anyone? No?
Yeah, set more goals.
Yeah.
Keep pursuing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting.
As long as there's life, you have to keep, pursuing something. The moment you get to the point where you feel satisfied with whatever you've accomplished and does not have the drive to pursue further, I think that's where the downward spiral begins. So just set more goals. You get to college, you get your college degree, start a business, or get a job, or go and get a master's or PhD. Keep going. You get your PhD, become a professor, speak around the world, So just set goals and keep doing stuff that enhances who you are and betters the lives of other people. Sorry.
Nice. All right, here's another question from a youth. Who supported your every move? Or did anybody support your every move? Anyone?
Well,
Go, Kyle.
I'm fortunate because I co-own a company, so me and my business partners support each other. And that's still, and to be honest, that really still helps a lot even to this day, because you're gonna go through struggles in being an entrepreneur, maybe not getting that client that you wanted to, or having those money issues, financial issues, and luckily I have a business partner. We feed off each other. We're almost like brothers, like a brother from another mother, as we like to say. But also my parents too, even though a lot of times they weren't sure, but they were like, okay, well, we trust you. We know you as your son, as you are a child. We trust you. We love you. So this is something we see. This is something you're very passionate, strong about. So I was lucky to get that support from them, even though sometimes they may have not been sure. But that at least that verbal support said, well, we don't know, but if that's what you want to do, we're here.
I'll say this, that there will be times that it's good to have support, but there will be times that you don't have it. And you have to learn how to still keep moving and encourage yourself. That's biblical. There will be times that you're going to have to fight through and push through, pat yourself on the back, look at yourself in the mirror, talk to yourself if you need to, and keep it moving.
Honestly, I believe that the strongest form of support comes from within. Just in support, of what he said, my brother said. Because, if you don't have that within yourself, there is almost nothing anyone outside says that can motivate you. So as long as you can drive yourself, yes, sometimes we have, some pitfalls and hiccups and whatever, but as long as you believe in yourself enough to know that you can do it, All any other person can do is to reinforce that. So find it within yourself first, and then take the extra reinforcement from outside.
Thank you very much. We have another question from the youth. It's, did the college you attend help you with your job? Carrie Ann's answer is, yes, I could not be where I am today without an education. Attending and doing well has been instrumental in providing a foundation for my career. Being in a structured environment and collaborating with others also develops your people skills, which are essential in life. The schools I attended also helped open doors for me. Unfortunately, we live in a time where all education is not equal, and attending certain schools will open doors that others can't. That being said, if you didn't attend a Harvard or Yale, it doesn't mean you won't get a job. It may just mean you have to network more and get to know people that may help you. I open that question to the panel. Did the college you attend help you with your job? I'll move on.
With where I am today, yes. With the job, it's a little different because I didn't go in the path of what I studied. But did college help me to be where I am today? Definitely yes. All right, I could walk into anywhere and say, well, I'm a graduate of City College of New York. I'm a biomedical engineer, even though I don't practice that. And people will listen to you. So without that experience, spending 5 years grinding, I wouldn't be able to say that. I would probably wear other hats, but I cannot come out and say, well, I am a graduate. Because the truth is, a college degree signifies that you can actually make a commitment to something and see it through. Your ability to graduate, it's, hey, I decided to go, and I didn't just decide, I went through it, and I finished it. Which is why many jobs require that you have a college degree, because it's a sign of commitment and perseverance. So did it? Yes. Help me get to where I am? Yes. Job? It's a little questionable. But yeah.
Anyone else? No? Let's go on. Another question from the young person is, did you know you were going to become who you are today? Who wants to say?
I've always had dreams. Even when I was 6 years old, I saw myself standing in front of a podium, speaking to crowds of people. When I was 12 years old, I saw that same thing. And when I got in trouble and went to jail at 17 years old, I had that same dream. And I was 17 years old, and I remember reading the Bible about this dude named Joseph who had dreams. And here I am, I'm like, wow, I'm 17 like he is. We have the same name, and we both in jail. And we have dreams, and that's all I had to hold on to was that dream. When my life was falling apart, that's all I had to hold on to was that dream. And so that's when I got out of jail and went back to school, and people looking at me like I'm a ghost because I'd come back from the dead, because usually people who drop out don't come back to school. When all of these people were looking at me and I was having to pat myself on the back because no one believed in me, all I could hold on to is what I saw, this vision that I saw. And sometimes you gotta slow down so you can see clearly. It's hard to see when you have all of this stuff coming at you, stuff in your eyes and in your mind, but when you slow down, you can see things more clearly. And if you do that, you will see yourself, because we all have vision. Some of us just don't realize what it is. And to some of us, because we're so confused, those visions are nightmares. Because we're afraid to be successful, because to be successful means that you have to give up some of the things, and you have to give up some of these negative behaviors and patterns that you are used to, that you've become comfortable with. So once I learned how to do that, it's like, wow, like I'm gonna walk into this thing that I've seen all of my life. And when I became a school teacher, and the teacher one of my teachers heard about my story, she said, Mr. Matthews, you need to get up there and tell your story. And I walked up, 1,700 kids, and I started telling my story. And as I walked up to the podium, I remembered that dream that I've been having all of my life. So, yeah.
Paint a picture for yourself. Extremely important. Which is why, sometimes people from different, backgrounds it seems like they tend to do better. Because from childhood, it's either you have that vision or your parents have it for you. And then they force it upon you until you bear it yourself. So coming from a Nigerian family, there were only two careers. You were either a doctor or an engineer. If you didn't make that, you weren't smart enough, then you went into the arts and became a lawyer or an accountant. Those were the four professions. Every other thing was, he didn't really make the mark to succeed. That's it. So from childhood, you had no choice but to think, well, I'm going to become a doctor. And that's what every African Nigerian family wants. You're all either doctors, or all engineers, or all lawyers, period. Now, growing up, that began to change because I knew I didn't want to spend all that time in school. I'm already losing hair. It would have all been gone by now. But I began to find my own dreams. I found my own passions. I'm like, okay, great. I want to become this successful. I don't know if you guys have seen the picture of the cat that looks at itself in the mirror and it sees a lion. Some of you might. Okay, so, and it says something about the way you see yourself is really what counts, something like that. So, painting that picture for yourself. Well, by the time I'm 30, I want to become the world's richest man, right? And then don't just paint pictures and not do anything about them. You have to start working towards it. But the good thing about painting the picture is now you see something that you're working towards, right? Now that begins to drive you with everything that you do. Why am I going to college? After I graduate, what do I need to do because I need to get here? And sometimes you might not even get there, but it gives you direction to become something important. I always told friends in high school, I had this stuff on my bed that said, if the sky is the limit for others, it's my starting point. Because I'm like, well, if I can't get to this, for those that the sky becomes their limit, if they can't get there, they fall on top of the tree or down to the floor. But if that's my starting point, that's where every other person is trying to get to. So even if I fail to get to where I want to be, I'm still up above, I'm still on top of every other person who my starting point becomes their limit, right? So it's all about painting the craziest dream or vision about yourself that you can paint. Where do you want to be? How do you want to get there? I think that's what counts.
Thank you, Chike. The final two questions, and then I'm going to leave the floor open to for any questions you may have. Let me get to the final two details, man. This is some serious one. This is compliments of Kyle students. Is it okay to fail? I'll leave that question open to any of the panelists. Is it okay to? Joe is all excited. Go ahead.
Y'all don't want to jump in, man. I'm gonna jump in on this one. So let me ask my man right here. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? What's your name, man? Okay, who's the greatest basketball player of all time? Michael Jordan. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you know how many championships he won? Okay, Michael Jordan played 17 seasons. He won 6 NBA titles. It was a lot, right? He played 17 seasons. Isn't the goal every season to do what? It's to win what? The ring. He played 17 seasons. He only won 6 titles. That means 11 of the season, unless my math is off, 11 of those seasons, he didn't what? He didn't win a ring. But he's still considered the greatest of all time. So that tells you that sometimes it's about perspective. Because see, we so focus on what we don't accomplish that we never look at what we do accomplish. The very fact that you're even with, oftentimes I tell kids, the very fact that you even alive with all of these people dying, with all these people walking around, strung out, people who have given up, the very fact that you're here, you're already successful. You failed in life, but you've gotten back up, and you kept moving, and you've gotten punched, and you kept moving and kept going. So when I hear that question, I think about Michael Jordan and how he overcame all of these people telling him, you know, and they would put that on him until he won it. And then when he won one, it was like, oh, but you can't win 2 in a row. And then when he won 2 in a row, oh, you can't win 3. And then once he retired and came back, well, you can't win another one. And then they started it all over again. And he just kept proving people wrong over and over and over again. So being successful is a process. It's a process. And so I would just say to any young person out there, man, don't look at in terms of being a failure. It's like, no, as long as you're trying and you keep plugging away at it, man, you're successful. You're successful even in just that attempt to accomplish your goal. Because most people will sit back and they laugh at you and they'll never get up to attempt. One time the girl that everybody liked in the neighborhood, and she would shoot everybody down. I was like, you know what? I got shot down, but I at least, got up and talked to her. And my friends, they laughed at me when she shot me down. But I felt good because, you know what? At least I had the courage to go and talk to her. And a year later, she was my girlfriend. So it's about being persistent, because sometimes, see, this is the thing, is if you try it and you fail, every time you try, you become a little bit more familiar with it. You get a little bit closer, and then the next time you go after it, you remember the mistakes you made, you remember the successes that you had, and you say, you know what? Next time, okay, I'm gonna do this different, and I'm gonna do that different. That's what I learned with that girl. It's like, okay, I made some pivotal mistakes the first time I tried to talk to her, and the second time I got better, third time, fourth time, it took me about 5 times to pull her, but I pulled her because I learned how to talk to her, and I learned the mistakes that I was making. And so I think that that's really important. When you give that effort, even if you fail, you're learning valuable lessons within that failure that's gonna make you more successful for the long term.
Let me just interject that real quick. Every single Fortune 500 company, every company out here that you heard of that's successful, all of the entrepreneurs that started that company failed. Every single one of them. You know why they're successful now? Because they didn't give up.
Right.
Anyone else want to add?
Yes.
Chike.
Let me paint a picture for you. For those of us who drive or who take buses, right? Every car has a brake, right? Because it's necessary to stop at some point. Every street or major street has a red light because it's necessary to stop at some point so that other people could go. Now, when you fail, sometimes that is the way you should see it. This is time for me to settle back and review or pause and then take my next move, right? I always used to tell my sister, I said, failure is supposed to give you an opportunity to get something bigger. It creates bigger opportunities. You go for a job interview, you lose it, you don't get it. You try and you try and you try. You decide, well, I'm going to go back to school. You go back to school, you add on some diploma or certificate, and then you apply for a better job and you get something bigger. Now you get this job that would have paid you $30,000 prior to adding on your education. Now you have an extra education that bumps that pay grade to $60,000, $70,000. Now, for some of us, we meet that hurdle, and for us it's like, oh my God, I'm bad, I'm no good, whatever, and you get discouraged. But what's important is what you do after the failure, right? I tell people I'd rather keep trying and failing than being stagnant. For me, that's failure. When you're not going anywhere or running in circles, that's failure for me. I'd rather put myself out there and fail and get up and try again than not do anything. So see every failure as a stepping stone as opposed to, an impediment.
Thank you very much. Last and final question, and I'm going to open the floor up to any questions that you may have, and then we'll end it so that way if you have questions that you want to ask to the panelists before they have to go, which I thank you so very much for being here, fellas. The final question, here it is what is a good work ethic? So I'm going to go down the line, and in answering this question, I want you to give your final question as, what would you tell a kid that we didn't ask or a young person? So the main question is, what is a good work ethic? And then what is the last word you would like to leave to young people as we end this session? And I'll start from my left to my right. Jason.
Good work ethic is, well, to get where you have to go, you have to put in the work. I mean, the work ethic means that you have to study. It means that you have to one thing I did was observe. I observed everyone around me. The smart kids in the class, I observed them. I observed the ones that weren't as smart. And I always said to myself, the smart people are going to be the ones that are going to make the money, right? So I also observed what my parents did, what their professions are, how I would like to cater myself. Do I want to be in the kind of professions they are? Or do I want something on my own? What am I going to do? So you have to put in a schedule. You have to keep your eyes on the prize, as they say, and you have to move forward. And don't ever discourage yourself. If you fail a test, make sure the next test you do better. The one thing I would leave for any student here is that look at us as an opportunity. Ask any question that comes to your mind, because I would think at the end of the day you want to better yourself and get yourself into the position of being a business owner or a professional or whatever your dreams are. You want to get to that level. So we're an opportunity for you today, to make sure that you ask your questions, to make sure that you leave, feeling good about yourself, but knowing that now you have the path to being a success, and we're the tools to help you get there.
Thank you, Jay. Joe.
I would say, man, that the best work ethic from my perspective is when you're in touch with why you're working in the first place. Just knowing that the work that you're doing is bigger than you. That's what kept me going. Knowing that there are kids out there who don't know me, who've never seen me before. Some of them have, some of my nieces and nephews and little cousins, knowing that they look up to me. Knowing that I am this person that they look up to, and that when they see me succeeding, when they see me trying, that's going to inspire them to change their lives. And so when you live, so a great work ethic is when you're living this inspiring life that inspires other people, and that really makes them want to be better people themselves, regardless of their circumstances. Just being in touch with knowing that it's bigger than you, that there are people out there that are counting on you to make it, and they look to you in order to inspire them, and you have this opportunity to touch lives. And so I think tapping in, along with what my brother said, but tapping also, in addition to tapping into the deeper meaning of work, and like really knowing why you're doing the work in the first place. The work should not be for money. It should not be for fame or any of that. It's to touch other people and transform lives. And once you hold on to that in the tough times, when there is no money and there is no fame, you still know that, I'm making a difference in people's lives, and this is what my Creator would want me to do. So I'm walking in my calling.
What final words would you like to leave to young people?
The final words is just, man, just take all of that fight that you have. I'll end with what I started with.
Okay.
Is taking that fight that you have and just channeling it in the right places in your life. And if that means, learning how to pull back sometimes, like my brother was saying, stop and take a moment and pause. Learn how to talk to the teacher. And if you really want to get at the teacher that's making you mad, you really want to get back at them because you know that they expect you to do this, and every time you talk, you get in trouble, and you don't like that. How you really get back at them, let me talk to the camera. How you really get back at them is that come in one day and look out the corner of your eye and wait for that teacher who always gets on you for talking or for getting up. And on that one day, don't get up. Don't talk. They're going to be mad at you because they want to get you. And that's how you can make them mad. So that's how you get back at your teacher. It's by doing the right thing. And then they can't get you in trouble. So I want to share that, because oftentimes our dreams are derailed by some of the behaviors and these behavior patterns. So you can have a dream, but if you're misbehaving in class, then those dreams can be taken from you because of your behavior. And so I really want you to really think about your behavior and channeling all of that energy into doing something positive.
Thank you, Joe. Kyle. what is a good work ethic, and your final words for youth and the people here, just in general.
Wow, I mean, these two brothers said it all. They said it all. I mean, and I'm just piggybacking on them pretty much, but I like I said, just that honesty and purpose, because at the end of the day, you have to live with whatever decisions you made. And you have to be comfortable with those decisions. You have to say, okay, well, I made a mistake. Can I correct that mistake? Can I move forward? So, as far as like a good work ethic, for me, along with what these brothers are saying, that honesty with yourself, and to step out there and say, I want to compete. I really want to make my mark in the world. I want to really be honest with myself and really put forth the things that I have, the dreams and the goals that I want to see achieved, and put it out there and pursue it. Because, again, after all is said and done, you have to live with that decision. You have to live with your life. And is your life going to be filled with purpose, or is it going to be wasted away? So that's what I say as far as like good work ethic, and like kind of like the last word. Live your dreams, live your goals. No one's going to hold you back but you.
All right, Chike.
Hey, I would say be the best you can be in anything you do. Whether it's at the job, whether it's at school, wherever it is. I think the best work ethic is ensuring that you're at peace, but also everyone around you is at peace. So if you know that being late will get your boss angry or get you fired, do not be late, right? So as long as you apply yourself to being the best you can be, whatever you invest your time in, I think you'll go a long way in making sure that you succeed.
Do you have any last words?
Last words, start a business. Become an entrepreneur, I think, is extremely important for our people because we've spent several centuries just being dependent on other people providing livelihood for us. So it's time we take the bull by the horn. And it could be anything, selling t-shirts, selling candy, whatever it is that that empowers you to become financially independent, pursue it. And pursue it with all your heart, all your might, everything within you, and you will succeed.
Thank you.
Legally.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah. Very important. That's a key word.
Now I'll leave the floor open to any questions that you may have, and if you have to go, please. But hopefully somebody. Oh, we have questions in the back. Who you want to direct your question to, or to just all of them in general?
Hi, everybody. Just a quick question. When it comes to, I know we've been talking about failure and that nature. When it comes to actually taking those bigger risks, as far as to progress, you got some kind of risk factor involved, right? So when you fold and when you take that risk versus just coasting along the side and like hoping for the best.
I watch a lot of Nature Channel, and I was watching the eagle, how they make the eagle nest, and the eagle puts these sticks in the nest and puts grass over it, and as the eaglets grow, the weight starts to bear down on the sticks, and as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, those sticks start sticking into their bellies, and they become uncomfortable. And when they jump out, it finally gets so uncomfortable that they're forced to get out the nest. And when they jump out the nest, they start falling and they start flapping their wings, and they start realizing, you know what, I can actually fly. So sometimes it's that discomfort when you're so uncomfortable with your situation and you know it's time for you to fly, even though you may not be confident that you can fly. It's when you get to that place where you're losing your breath and you feel like you're dying because you're not out there living. I think that's when it's time to make that move. Or it probably was time before that, but that's when you're at the pivotal point where if you don't do it, your spirit's going to be broken, and then you're going to find yourself some bitter person in a job that you don't like and complaining about it and showing up every day to your job looking for jobs on the computer.
The one thing I'll say is, well, first of all, I work in the biggest risk-taking industry there is, which is finance, in particular the stock market. And these guys make millions of dollars risk betting on companies. but it's like educated guessing in a sense. What they do is they research. This is where school is important, right? Because school teaches you how to do research. You research the risk or the item that you're looking to get into, and you look at it from all sides. You also have two pieces of paper. This will be successful if I do this. This will be a failure if I do this. And write down both items. And what you want to do is limit the failures, right? You want to limit the things that is going to make it a failure, and you want to put more on the success side. Once you do the research around all the items that you're looking to do, and once you try to limit all those items that will cause the failure, then you'll see that you will gear yourself more towards a success more than anything else. And the greatest asset you have is the internet, because there's so much volume of information on the internet. I mean, it's something that we didn't have as a resource 10 years ago, but now you have that opportunity.
Anyone, please.
My name is Siamari. I have a question because there's this famous saying talking about every generation has their own road. So do you think our generation is lost, and how can we become?
Wow. Wow.
You know, it's funny because every generation is usually told that they are lost. I'll tell you that, right? So we look back now at the generation of the 60s and like, these were wonderful people, you know, civil rights movement, a whole bunch of stuff was, you know, accomplished during that time. I think we're actually at a pivotal point, you know, in human history. I might be wrong, but I think so. Now, I don't believe the generation is lost because we still have people like you who can think like this, right? So the most important thing is making sure that you can better yourself. What are you doing to make sure that you are not classified as being lost? Now, once you're able to figure that out, how do you share it with the people around you, right? So your ability to, that chain reaction is actually what will make your generation or our generation a better race or a better generation, right? But if we all sit and we're waiting for someone to do it, then I'm not sure what we will be classified or remembered for. You get what I mean? So that's my 10 cents.
I would say this. Did you see the Trayvon Martin rallies around the country this summer? Did you see who mainly was at those rallies? Who was it? Young people. For one of the first times in my life, I saw young people step up and say enough is enough. Even though the media is constantly telling and putting out these stories how lost these kids are and blah, 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 blah. What I saw was young people say enough is enough. I saw young black kids going down to Florida in the courthouse and sitting in the Dream Keepers. I saw that. I spoke at rallies in Washington, D.C. and in Philly. And I saw young people, thousands of young people. This generation is not lost. The problem is there's some people who want you to think you're lost and don't want you to find yourself because they realize how powerful and how strong you all are. And so my thing to tell you is that no, you tell your friends, no, we not lost. We headed in the right direction. We just can't listen to these other people who want us to think we lost. So you're not lost at all. Y'all are on the right path. But you know, there's some things, nothing's perfect, right? But you're not lost. And so I want you to, you know, to keep that in mind and you know, you may be someone who can begin to share that message with other people. Brother, you ain't lost. Quit acting up in class. Quit, you know, cutting up, not listen to the teacher. Sit down, because you're not lost, you know, so. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
I just want to add that understand where you are in life. Understand when you look at things like TV and the media, look at what's happening, right? You have commercials that ask you to buy stuff. So you become a consumer, right? And then you have the top 1% wealth in this country owns 50% of the wealth. The top 1% owns 50% of the wealth in this country. So what does that tell you? That tells you that we've become a society that all we are consumers. Everyone you're looked upon as a consumer. What are you gonna buy next? Fancy shoes, jackets, sneakers, whatever it is. So you have to take a look at it and say, okay, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a consumer or do I want to be an owner? Right? And then once you look at it that way, pattern your life towards that ownership realm. Right? So The lost part is that we're subliminally controlled by these big corporations because they just see us as dollar figures. But what we're doing is we're making billionaires. That's the masses are making billionaires. That's really what's going on.
Thank you very much, Jason. If there are no other questions, we have one more. You have.
Well, it's sort of not a question. I was
No.
one of those that was here last time, and you spoke about something that is a difficulty. Was a difficulty for me. You had a gentleman who spoke about how to help yourself through scholarships and grants
Yes.
to help your dream.
Yes.
You didn't speak about that today. Can you speak about that for me?
I would. After, I'll be glad to share that information with you
Well,
and
I have
everyone
a
else.
couple of gentlemen I told to come to.
I'll
for that.
contact me and I'll contact them. For the sake of time, I don't want to keep everybody out too long. You have your fun? Yes.
One
Final
last
question. Yes.
So how does race play? Because you see the lady said
Yes.
was talking about how we must like the white people are like still holding our chance back. So how do you think race plays in what goes on now?
All right, let me start.
I'll come behind you.
All right. First and foremost, I don't think we got to take race out of the equation. When you go into becoming a business owner, when you go into the professional environment, you have to look at it as you're an individual, right? Right now, it's not racial as such anymore. It's more economics. You either have or you don't have, right? That's the bottom line. And what you do is that you have to create that networking team, as they say, to make yourself an individual that's going to be able to rise, right? So race is something that is kind of put out there to cloud your judgment. I'm not saying that things of racial items don't exist. They do. But guess what? Unfortunately, I am a black male and I understand that. When I go into the office I work in, I am one person out of probably 70 and I'm the only black male. Okay? So understanding and one of the reasons I'm here today is to make sure that those numbers are not as skewed. Because when I go in there, I see everyone else that's there. I see other ethnicities that's there, right? So that in itself is a challenge. So you can't look at race as something to hinder you anymore because there are people that no matter what color you are, they look at it whether you have money or you don't have money. That's the bottom line.
Thank you, Jay, Joe.
And I would say this, up at Columbia where I attend school, I'm a doctoral student up there, and I'm just telling you right now, being around right here with you all, this is the most black people I've seen in a long time. So I'm feeling real good right now. But that being said, race does not, what's your name? So race does not and will not, I will not allow race to play a part in my success. Like, now get this, I'm not gonna allow race to play a part in my success, but I'm going to allow race to very much play a part in my sense of duty and responsibility to become successful so I can give back to the community. You understand? Because as a black woman and as black young men, we owe it to our communities to give back. So use your race as a not as something that weighs you down, but actually as something like a rose breaking up from the concrete. Use that as a sense of a light and say, you know what? I feel good because I come from this amazing people. And in spite of all of these things that I've been through, I've been able to rise up and to still become successful. So use it. Use it as a sense of duty and responsibility to lift your people and your community up.
Thank you, Joe.
I was gonna say, use it as a weapon, like he said. I think gone are the time when it should be, well, I'm the only black person in the midst of. I think what we should start talking about now is how do I change that, right? As opposed to, well, I'm honored to be the only black person. You get what I mean? So race does play a factor. It is a factor, in my opinion. Because when I go to get a bank loan, I will be extremely scrutinized as opposed to someone who is not really my skin color. So I beg to differ, but I think race does play. And the fact that you are the only one among 70 of other people is an indicator that race does play race does play a role. But in it, it should not be something to hold you down. It should not be something to pull you down or to discourage you and say, oh, well, because I'm black, I can't get this, or because I'm black, I can't do this. No, be the best you can be means, like my father always said, do not compete with any other person, but you have to be the best at whatever you do. So I shared the story with them before. In school, elementary school, he would always sing that song, do not compete. But then you come back home at the end of the semester and you're second in class and you get the whoopings of your life. And you're wondering like, wait, I am not supposed to compete, and here you are about to kill me for coming second out of 40 or 50 kids. I was better than 48. And then he'll ask you, what if thou the one person? You were supposed to be better than they were. And he'll remind you how everyone has the same number of neurons in their brain, and if they can do it, you could be better. You know, so it's striving to ensure that you attain that level of excellence that makes you the best. But in also doing that, how do you pull other people like you to ensure that it's not just a one-man thing, but a community thing? I don't know if that, yeah.
Thank you, Chike. Thank you. I know I have to close, but I want to thank you all for coming out, and please give a round of applause for our panelists, because I hope they gave you information too. Okay, promote.
I see there's some young people here, and I'm an author, and I only have 4 books, and I wanted to give, just a complimentary copy to any young person that wanted one. It's about, one is called The Dropout, and it's about my life and my struggles as a student, and how I was able to fight through all of my challenges. And so, yeah. So afterwards, definitely I would, give you all one if you want one.
Thank you, Joe. Jason Sidney, JCS Consulting. You can contact him through Power Zone 13. Also, 14's Productions. You can contact him on our website. We got Kyle Dixon. Represent your company.
Yep, Precise Minds Incorporated. You can check me out on Vimeo.com/Precise Minds or YouTube.com Precise Minds Films.
We got Chike. Please represent your company, sir.
Co-founder of Real Life Incorporated. Our mission is to empower you through entrepreneurship. So we teach about starting businesses and how to succeed educationally and entrepreneurially. Actually, some of our students are here. Shout them out, Chris, Larry. Yeah, learning and starting their own businesses, so we're proud of them.